All right, we are here with Chris Smith, the equipment manager for the Los Angeles Chargers, which still sounds a little funny to me, being a San Diego Charger guy back in the day. And you've been with the Chargers for 32 seasons. Thanks for being on here. I appreciate it.
No problem. Glad to be here.
So 32 seasons. You've seen a lot. You've done a lot for the Chargers. What is maybe your favorite memory during that time frame?
Oh, I would say there's been a lot of them, but I would say the going to the Super Bowl, winning the AFC Championship in Pittsburgh, probably tops the list because that's kind of the ultimate goal in this business. So just winning that AFC Championship in Pittsburgh when we were underdogs, and that bus ride to the airport and the flight home, the reception in San Diego was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then you're always striving to get back to that same feeling. We haven't done it yet, but hopefully soon.
I remember I was at a ski lodge in Big Bear, and we all huddled around, and the game was on, and went down there and watched it. And I remember just everybody celebrating crazy when the ball got knocked down at the very end there. What's maybe the most memorable moment? What's something that people ask you the most about maybe your Charger time?
I think favorite players, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, who's your favorite player?
Yeah.
So, I mean, someone has asked me, Junior Seau was a favorite, LaDainian Tomlinson, Phillip Rivers, all good guys,
That's good to hear. The superstars are some of the favorite players, not only on the field, but like in the club, in the locker room and all of that as well too.
Yeah. And I think to be a superstar, you got to have, traits of being a good person too. So.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I put together a PowerPoint here. I wanted to ask you some things about your job and just kind of what you do. I mean, I teach a sports marketing class, and I know a lot of kids in my class will want to go into perhaps sports management or sports administration or different things. And I think what you do is an interesting look, at an organization. I got some of these pictures off the internet. How did you get started with the Chargers? I know it's 32 years. How did you get in there? What was your background? What kind of qualifications did you have, or what kind of training did you have that led to your job?
So I hadn't planned on being an equipment manager. I went to San Diego State to be a teacher. Okay. And I had played junior college football, and one of the coaches got me hooked up at San Diego State being a student manager. And I did that for 3 years at State. And my senior year, the Chargers offered me a job. And at first I didn't, I was like, man, I've just gone to school to be a teacher, but I figured I could do it and still go back and teach later if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And here I am, still here 32 years later. So just for me, it was right place at the right time. But if I hadn't been the student manager in college, that was the progression to get the NFL job.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the progression now, 100% with equipment managers, is to be that student manager in college at a university, and then have that on their resume, and then intern with NFL teams as either a camp only or a seasonal being the better of the two internships.
Yeah.
So
sure. It's interesting that San Diego State, I mean, I know I worked for Bill Johnston and for Scott Yaffe, and they both came from San Diego State as well. Do NFL teams, do they have maybe like a pipeline of where, or do franchises in sports typically like to hire from one particular university, or is it just that San Diego State's the biggest maybe college football program in the area?
No, I think for me, it was just proximity, because we were playing in the same stadium. So I got to know the equipment managers for the Chargers, and they knew me. So I think, for up here in LA now, I think there's probably a better connection with USC and UCLA, but also because I'm a San Diego State alum, I still have that connection down to San Diego. And then, Houston Texans with the Texas schools, Dallas with, so it's proximity, I think.
Right. Interesting. So as far as your job goes, let me see, I've got my next question here. What is a day in the life of your job? I mean, I think the biggest thing that like an equipment manager, at least being an ESPN, different things, was a few years ago when Deflategate came around or whatever. But like, equipment managers seem to have, you guys are around the players, you are around all the equipment, all of the footballs, all that kind of stuff. What's a day in the life, maybe preseason, a regular day, and maybe a game day?
Well, the preseason, the off season, a lot of people say, "What do you guys do in the off season?" We're actually pretty busy because we go through everything at the end of the season and send out all the pads and helmets for reconditioning and kind of inventory everything, see what we need to order, and then we're starting to receive stuff. And by the time that gets all done, the players are back for the off season program. And as long as the players are here, we're pretty busy. And there's always, with equipment, there's always laundry to do. There's always ordering to be done and receiving product.
Yeah.
And the NFL is big into the helmets and shoulder pads and cleats as far as logging the information. So we have a tracking system.
Why?
We have to log everything in, and the NFL wants to know what the players are wearing at all times.
Why? Why is that? Why is that? Why?
For health and safety. So they do a lot of testing.
Okay.
And they rank the different products, whether it's helmets or shoulder pads or cleats. And if the testing shows that those three pieces of equipment aren't meeting their standards, they're not allowed on the field. So anything the players wear has to be barcoded and logged in so that they know that those players are wearing the equipment that's been tested in the area they need it to be tested in.
I think that's what Antonio Brown went through a few years ago when he wanted to wear that helmet, and then the NFL wouldn't let him. And so you guys log all of that then. Exactly.
So there's, for his situation, that helmet had been pushed out, wasn't allowed anymore.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
So then, you got that. And then once you start training camp, it's, practices, laundry, getting ready, uniforms ready. We also, we issue gear to the entire organization as far as clothing. And so we're not only dealing with players' equipment, we're dealing with coaches and then also staff. We're kind of almost like a store.
Okay.
So it's a lot going on.
Yeah, no kidding. So the NFL draft, I mean, it's funny, where I did a history of the NFL draft for my class, and just the early days of before it was even televised, and then when ESPN got a hold of it in 1980, and then just kind of the evolution of it. Now it is just an advertising juggernaut. What is it like to be there? What is it like to get the slip of paper with the player's name on it, and you're handing it to the commissioner to draft that player and all that?
It's pretty exciting, I wasn't able to do it the last 3 seasons, or it was 2 seasons because of COVID, where they've cut out the team tables and they've just done everything electronically. So hopefully that'll return next season. But the team tables are team representatives, and I've always been one of those where you write down the name and you turn it in. It's a pretty simple job, but it's exciting because you're there at the draft, and it's an important job to make sure that name's right, turned in. And then we also, while we're there, we keep up on the trades. And if we hear something before our personnel department, we make sure they're notified. And so, but it's pretty exciting. And like you said, it's become bigger and bigger every year.
Yeah.
But some great memories, whether it was the Manning Rivers trade or my first draft ever that I went to was we took LaDainian Tomlinson in the first round and Drew Brees in the second round. So that was pretty cool.
It is. So that was 2004, by the way, the Rivers scenario. So we draft Eli Manning, number 1 overall, and then decide, and he's holding up there. There's pictures that are out there that show Eli Manning holding the jersey, kind of looking a little tepid. And then 3 picks later, the Giants are selecting, and we swap, and they get Manning and we get Rivers, and then there's some other draft picks included in there. What is all that like? Are they in your headset yelling about it? Is it chaos, or is it very calm? Like, well, we've made a trade, or how does that happen?
Pretty calm, actually. So we didn't hear anything, and we just waited to hear that the trade had been made. There's rumors floating around the room. You can murmur, everything. But Eli had been to our table and checked in with us, and wasn't real happy. And then he went off to his interviews. And then all of a sudden we get a call say, hey, we've traded Manning, and and Rivers is coming in, and so we were all excited about it because we'd had Philip in the Senior Bowl. We liked him a lot, so worked out well.
Yeah, and it's such a strange thing for a guy to be drafted first. I mean, I know it is what it is with whatever you think about particular franchises or whatever, but to get drafted first and then just be, I don't know, it just seemed like such a strange, it seemed like, and by the way, I was going to ask you this too, is like, you guys, as I was watching the movie Draft Day in the movie theater, I see you guys right behind this table, the fictitious Draft Day people in the movie. The Chargers are right behind them, and you're on there. Was that cool to get to be part of that filming? Did they just happen to film it during the draft? Is that why they did it then?
It was filmed the day of the draft, 3 hours before the draft started. So they gave us the option: if you want to be in the movie, you can come and be in the movie, or if you don't want to be in the movie, we're going to put extras in your seat.
Okay.
And they're not, we're not going to pay you, but if you want to be in the movie, we'd love to have you, type of thing. So we of course did it because it's not every day you're in a movie. So, and It was neat to sit there and watch how they do it, because it's, the director was coming to the table saying, you guys look great, or maybe do this different, or whatever,
Yeah.
So and the actors were walking right past us, and you could see how they were taking it real seriously and getting mad at themselves if they had to reshoot a scene. And so it was pretty cool.
Right. And in the movie, Kevin Costner's not at the draft. He's back at the Browns headquarters or whatever. And so he probably wasn't a guy that walked by you, but some of the other actors in the movie though, right?
Yeah, I think it was Frank Langella, and then the female actress who was his mistress or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but he was, got to meet him and, talk to him for a minute. So that was cool.
What a cool experience. I mean, that's incredible. That's awesome. So,
yeah.
So the move to Los Angeles, I mean, that's, boy, I know for years there, the San Diego people were, trying to vie to keep the Chargers in town and all that. So how has the transition been? Is it still strange for you to say Los Angeles Chargers, or does it feel?
No, I think we're used to it now. The first year or two kind of was, and kind of fish out of water, but I think we're used to the name now, and the community, and settled in. So
yeah.
I always have a place in my heart for San Diego, but
right.
Now we're up here. So
yeah. And it's strange too, because the first couple seasons were played at like the MLS park, right? In like the soccer stadium or whatever, right? And then they moved into the new where the Rams are at as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did that pose any kind of equipment or challenges? I mean, it sounds like you guys might have been on the road a lot with moving stuff around, or were you guys home base there at that stadium?
We were moving in and out every game. So it was every week was a road trip, and which is fine. We're kind of used to doing that in San Diego. It really wasn't too much different, because you don't leave a whole lot of gear at the stadium. You take it back and you go through it all and repack it and bring it back. So it wasn't a big deal. And a little bit further drive than we had in San Diego, going from the training facility to the stadium.
Right.
San Diego was about 3 miles, and up here it's about an hour drive each way. So
yeah.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful stadium, and we're enjoying being in it. So
yeah, I remember seeing the mock-ups of it in the video of like what it was going to look like, and it just looked like, I mean, we live here by the Cowboys, obviously, and Jerry World is impressive as well. My little boy gets to play there this Saturday in one of the Pee Wee games, and so we're thrilled with that. But it's interesting to travel around to different places and see, how does maybe where you're at now compare to the Cowboys stadium?
I've been to the Cowboys stadium. I think it's very comparable, if not nicer in some ways.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same type of stadium. Just everything's there. Didn't cut corners on anything.
Yeah.
The video board is unbelievable. I don't think you could get a better video board than the one at SoFi Stadium. Is
that right?
It's unbelievable. So locker rooms are spectacular. Everything's just top notch. So
yeah. Do you get to, on game days, get to see much of the game, or is there a lot of equipment changes and things that are happening during the games?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we're on the sideline, so but there is a lot going on. Like, you can't just sit there and watch every single play. There's
Right.
fixing equipment or dealing with radios or, going in and out of the locker room to get things ready for halftime or get the truck drivers going on loading some stuff up to take back. And so it's just, you're moving a lot, but,
your first season being on the sideline, I mean, I know what it's like, there's energy and all of that stuff. Do you still feel after 32 seasons standing on the sideline and the jets fly over or whatever is happening, the pregame extravaganza that is the NFL, do you still get that rush feeling?
Oh yeah, you do. That's why I do it. Because there's some tough times in the office, like long hours and everything, but when you get to that game day and you get that feeling, it's never changes. So
yeah.
Very
Very
special.
cool. Last question I have for you here. One of the things we've been talking about is the marketability of the NFL and how the NFL has changed rules over the years to maybe make it allow a quarterback to stand upright longer. I mean, Tom Brady playing until he's 43 and Aaron Rodgers still going strong. And, Philip Rivers had a long career. Boy, I remember playing, Stan Humphries when he was there, just a terrific quarterback. But how have the rules changed from when you started to where they are now?
What you see, I mean, that's, they're making it harder to get to the quarterback and harder on the defensive players, with the contact penalties and everything. So it's all to open up the game and it's to protect the quarterbacks, and it's good for the game. I mean, the quarterbacks are what it's all about, and they are kind of vulnerable back there. So, I think some of those rules are great.
Do you think it makes for just a more enjoyable game for fans, or do you think this was just solely about the safety of the player?
I think it's both.
Yeah. Well, fantastic, man. Chris, I appreciate your time. This is great. Just an amazing career there you've had. I mean, if I have a student, I've got a 16-year-old sitting in my class who is saying, man, what a cool job. What would be your first recommendation to them? What should they do? What's the path? I know you talked about internships and those kinds of things. Is there something maybe in school they should become a part of, or what should they do?
Well, if they're not playing football, or if they want to be an equipment manager in another sport, if they're not playing that sport, get involved with that sport and get to know it. And maybe if they're not, for instance, if they're not playing football, ask to be the student manager for the football team and get to know. And then obviously graduate from high school, get your diploma, go to college, because that's becoming kind of a requirement now, is to go to college and be a student manager, and just keep plugging along with the student manager process. And then when you get to sophomore year, you can start applying for camp internships. You can do that while you're in college.
Okay.
You can intern with NFL teams.
Wow.
While you're in college. I've had 2 interns this year that are undergrads. So, and then as soon as, you graduate, then you can do the seasonal internships, which is the next step after that, is getting a assistant job full time. So that's kind of the process.
Well, Chris, man, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming in. You've been awesome.
No problem, Brian.